Welcome to the Greener Gifting Gang podcast, the show that delves into the reasons we love to choose, wrap, and share gifts with each other. Hi, I'm your host, Eve Kale, founder of Gift Wrapped by Eve, and I'm on a mission to help you experience the joy of gift giving while also considering the planet. Each episode, I'll be sharing ideas or interviewing guests who will help inspire your choice of gifts and how you present them. Whether that's for your own gifts or products you create or sell in your small business, will help you consider how to make small changes that can help your gifting be a little greener. Welcome to the podcast, Aoife.
Hello.
It's really lovely to have you here. I've been so excited about having this conversation. And when we discovered each other on Instagram, I've been following with interest what you've been doing too as a fellow gift wrapper. It's very, very exciting for me to have somebody else who is as obsessed with gift wrapping as me on the podcast.
Well, hello. My name is Aoife Forbes. I was Aoife Riley. Now I'm Aoife Forbes for a long time now. I'm from Dublin, but I've lived in the northeast of England in a place called Whitley Bay, which is by the sea. I love it here. And I worked in PR and marketing for about 25 years. And about 18 months ago, I just had a bit of this isn't working. I'm not happy. A few other things are going wrong at the same time, and it was just a bit of a mess. And yeah, I really wasn't happy, and I thought, right, I need to just stop and have a think. And I did, which was a bit scary, but I decided to just stop everything and really think about what I wanted to do next. What do I love? What I really want to do job-wise and life-wise, I suppose. So I worked out that I didn't want to work in an office environment anymore. I wanted to do something practical. I had this thing that I wanted to do something with my hands, which now I've learned about that. Now I know why. It makes me really happy, basically. And now I know all the scientific kind of proof behind that, that I've looked into it. But at the time, I just knew I wanted to do something with my hands. I thought about being a joiner for about half an hour, but I realized I'm not very strong at all. I thought about maybe being a stylist or interior design. I'm very into house things, very into that kind of stuff. But I realized there were quite a few of those where I live, and I'd have to kind of really start at the beginning and work my way up. And then I met a friend for lunch one day. And I was kind of like, what am I going to do with my life? Kind of conversation. She's like, oh,
Yeah.
what's your dream job? What would be your ultimate dream job? And I said, my dream job would be to get an old ice cream van and customize it and make it beautiful and just drive around wrapping people's presents all day. I took myself to a professional gift wrapping course, which I didn't know existed until I started Googling it and thinking about it, in Harrogate. And I did this day course, and I just came away thinking, I absolutely love this so much. I was just felt I could achieve anything after the session. Just
Yeah.
thought this is just what I love. So started thinking about it, and that kind of planted seed of the ice cream of the van and gift wrapping. I started looking into it and realized it is a job. Other people do it. It can be done.
Yeah.
And then realized that there's nobody where I live doing it. There's certainly nobody in Northumberland, the northeast, this side of the northeast doing it. I thought, oh, hang on a sec. Either that's for a very good reason. There's a gap in the market for this. So I've kind of, it's a year ago now, a year ago this month, I decided, right, I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
And it's been a really amazing first year, and I'm loving it. But basically, it's because I love it,
Yeah.
is why. And I've kind of combined that with my PR and marketing knowledge and sales knowledge and kind of my LinkedIn not
Yeah.
side of my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I've started there. I kind of thought, well, that's where I know I'm not starting from scratch. And it sounds really flippant to say now, but I just started. But that's literally what I did. I had loads of wrapping paper, a lot of wrapping paper, a
Yeah.
lot of ribbon, and I just thought, well, I'll just start. Um, yeah.
Amazing. Oh, it's so interesting to hear how you've come to this point, and how you'd come to a point where you thought, right, you wanted to make a change and really were quite strategic, I would say, about choosing
Yeah.
something that where you could go down a different path.
Well,
Well,
I knew this
yeah,
was going to be the next, you know, chapter sounds dramatic,
yeah,
but the next phase, the
yeah,
next part. So, and I had made some bad, quick, rash decisions before, job wise,
yeah,
leading up to me quitting. So I thought, right, don't make any decisions, just stop. And I really
Yeah.
did. I'm very lucky, to be able to be in a position I could do that.
Yeah.
And just really gave myself time to stop and think. Yeah, I was very, yeah, you're right. I was definitely strategic.
Yeah.
It took me a good few months to get my act together. And I think saying it out loud was the hardest part
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, right." They're like, "Okay, we'll let you have that little, f phase for a while and then
Yeah.
see if that, actually is going to work." But that was definitely the hardest part, was actually telling people and saying it. This is what I'm going to do.
Yes. Okay. Well, I feel that's so brave that you've stepped into the new world and you've really gone for it. Whereas I have done things over a number of years and it's sort of just evolved. And
Yeah.
so at no point was I brave enough to say, this is what I'm doing, I'm going for it. Um, Really, it's just sort of evolved, that's really interesting. But I think the crossover is that I think we might have learned or been on the same gift wrapping course with the same amazing expert. Is that Jane
Yeah.
course that you went on? Yeah. And I mean, she's absolutely inspiring and has been in business now, I think 30 years, she announced
Yeah, exactly.
this week.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I found the course amazing, but I think what I'm doing now, I'm kind of putting my own spin on it.
Yes.
I think probably somebody like her looked at what I do, she'd probably find it, well, your bow isn't quite, I'm sure it's not completely picture perfect.
Yeah.
But I think I've taken what she does and yeah, put my own spin on it and
Yeah.
my way of doing it. And I think it's to most people it looks pretty good, but I'm sure Jane means to say it's not perfect, but I'm kind of going for pretty over perfect.
Yeah, and
It's
I
the
think
whole
that's okay.
experience and the experience and the process of it and rather than the final end result. That's almost like a byproduct almost.
Yes,
That
that's
makes
really
sense.
interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. I think having over the years, I think I've done the same. I've developed my own way of doing things, my own spin, like you say, and that's okay too, isn't it? Because there are different styles for different types of effects that you want to have.
Yeah. Hmm.
And yeah, but I think the fact that you can see where somebody has taken what is quite a niche
Yeah. Uh-huh.
line
Uh-huh.
of business is absolutely incredible and definitely keeps me focused when I'm, having those days where you think, what am I doing?
Yeah, I
I think
know.
that's really good. So um, tell me more about how you've set things up. Are you rapping for other people? Are you teaching rapping? What kind of stuff do you do? And are you in an ice cream van yet?
No, not yet, but oh my God. When I have an ice cream van, I'll drive to your house and knock on your door. I'm gonna be so happy.
That would be
Everybody will
amazing.
know. The whole world will know I have that van. Um, so no, not yet. At the beginning, I was, I mean, it has taken me a long time to kind of to build up to where I am now. A lot of dead ends, a lot of, oh, that's a terrible idea. Let's start again. And it has been a year, but I was out of action for 2 months. I was sick for 2 months. So I kind of feel I'm just getting my kind of product together or my services together now. At the very beginning, I was just saying, I can gift wrap, huh? Anyone? Anyone like a present wrapped? It was
Yeah,
very much, where am I going to do with this? Um, but then I really thought, okay, what do you know? And I knew how people work in offices. I knew people like brainstorming or, icebreakers before a corporate day or a timeout. And I've been on those kind of things myself. And thought, well, there could be a gap here for something different. So that's where I started really.
hmm,
But before I got to that stage, I just did a couple of workshops for free for friends, just for people to practice and get pictures.
yeah,
And I really just, like I say, just started it. But when I was doing the workshops with people who were doing it for free, obviously random people came because I put it on Eventbrite, and people came who I didn't know, and they didn't know anybody else, and it was a bit, right, okay, let's just give it a go. And what I really learned from that was that it's such a good icebreaker for conversation.
Mm.
And because people didn't know each other, but they were looking at their hands and doing something, they really started chatting
Yeah.
about different things. And I brought really nostalgic things to wrap with, like doilies that you used to colour in the 80s kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm very chatty, as you can tell. So I was, remembered these doilies. Oh, yeah. And then before we knew it, we were
Yeah.
talking about the 80s compared to now, children then, all
Yeah.
that kind of, I thought this would be a really good corporate icebreaker. This would be such a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that's how that evolved, actually. So it kind of went from gift wrapping to the corporate idea.
Okay.
So I started asking if I could do it for free for a couple of friends that way, and I got into a couple of companies and did a few freebies, and that's how I got my kind of pattern, worked it all out. So I thought, um, so that's been going quite well now. So people are actually paying for it now, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
Bringing me in for, like I say, but if they're going to have a corporate day, they'll bring me in at the very beginning just to get everyone kind of warmed up, or in the middle when everyone's kind of flagging a bit.
Yes.
And that's been going well. So I've been kind of, and then I probably where we've got that connection is after I thought, well, gift wrapping, I needed a kind of a theme or more of a hook when I was selling it, and that's where my PR background came in, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, sustainability is really big. People need the
Mm.
corporate box need to be ticked for that, and I thought, well, that could sell. So I really was thinking of it as a product at the beginning of
Yeah.
things that I could get in because I really had to start making money and actually start doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I started toying with the around the idea of sustainability, and then I thought of all the things I do myself that I didn't realize that are sustainable. Um, it could be worked into that workshop. So things like when we do Father's Day in our house, I just get brown paper and we write really cheesy dad jokes all over it, that kind of stuff.
Fantastic.
Or Beano comics, or it's something I just do anyway. I thought,
Yeah.
hang on a sec, one plus one is it all just started
Mm-hmm.
fitting together. And the more I thought about it, the more sustainable workshops were just so different here anyway, in my network. And I loved it. I just thought this is so fun. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, Instagram worthy. It doesn't have, but it's just that idea that you can use anything around your house to wrap something. You don't have to go to the shops and buy new, which I think anyway.
Yeah.
Things like we have loo rolls, sort of who gives a crap loo roll we have in our house. So I started ironing
Yes.
all
Oh, yeah.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like ironing those and that kind of stuff for the workshops.
Yeah.
And it just brings people together because it's funny. These items are really nostalgic. So I go to charity shops and get like, Jackie Annuals from the 70s, that kind of stuff. So like I say, it kind of brings generations together. So you've got older people talking to younger people about Jackie. Oh, what's Jackie? Oh, you don't know what Jackie, it's like the doily thing.
Yeah.
And it's just worked. So me just being interested in sustainability and something I just did anyway, I've
Yeah.
realized is suitable for a bigger audience. Really lovely, mindful thing to do. It's all just been a chain reaction, I suppose. And I think maps were the big thing that just everybody loved wrapping with maps because I love maps, and
Yeah.
I did a present for a friend who's from France, and I found the village she's from just by amazingness
Wow.
in a charity shop, and I wrapped it in the map. And I thought that's cool for workshops again. So you got, oh, I've been there, or that's the town I'm
Yeah.
from. And yeah, so it's all kind of mixed together to turn into this product now that is workshops, sustainability workshops that give a really lovely mindful experience. And then I'll be doing Christmas workshops coming up to Christmas, obviously, but with sustainability at the heart of most things I do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, don't use sellotape anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, showing people you don't have to spend a fortune to make something gorgeous, but the whole experience of that is as well is lovely.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much of an overlap there that I definitely resonate with. I think it's really, really interesting that sustainability has kind of done this full circle moment because,
Mm,
um, when you look back through generations, people reuse things. Um, just that's what people did, and it wasn't really because of an environmental point of view as much as just being savvy about money and waste. And we kind of have got to re-educate ourselves, haven't we?
Yeah. And I think maybe in the 80s, or certainly growing up, people didn't want to look like they couldn't afford to buy new.
Yeah.
I think there was that kind of element too.
Yeah.
Like I used to, and my father didn't like my mum taking hand-me-downs and, that kind of
Hmm.
looks like we can't, but now,
Yeah.
of course, it's,
Yeah.
obviously you're going back to before that. So I think yeah, it's come in a cycle, hasn't it? Um,
Um, that's really insightful. I hadn't really thought about it like that before, and actually why that change has happened, and
yeah.
we've gone too far the other way
Yeah, I think
now,
the
and now
80s
we
is
need to
all
go
about
back.
it was all
Yeah.
about convenience, all about,
Yeah.
Findus Bird's-eye, mothers who were working who needed a quick dinner, all that kind of and I think now we're slowing down a bit more, we're thinking a bit more.
Mm.
I mean, I used to cover my copybooks in school with wallpaper
Yeah.
and wrapping paper.
Yeah.
So it's like
Same.
nice, and yeah, that kind of yeah, that idea now is trendy. It's a good thing to do, but yeah, it's always been there. Um,
Yeah, and it's on trend for so many different reasons. So you talked about the mindfulness side of things, which I think is really interesting because I try and get people to think about. Often I hear people say that they don't enjoy wrapping gifts. So when you meet people and you talk to them, do you find people say, "Oh, I love wrapping gifts," or "I hate wrapping
yeah,
gifts"?
it's one or the other.
It's really, yeah, and often people associate wrapping gifts with this sort of stressful situation. They're under pressure. They need to do it quickly. They need to do it, um, you know, right now. And
Or they leave it to Christmas Eve. Tap
yeah,
Christmas Eve.
particularly Christmas, isn't it? Christmas
Yeah.
gives wrapping a bad name sometimes
Yeah, yeah,
if you
exactly.
don't like it. And I think it's getting to getting back to people enjoying the process,
Exactly.
making time for the process. So tell me more about the mindfulness side of things and what you've uncovered.
I think again it was personal experience when I'm feeling like this week I felt really stressy. I think it's the whole September buzz. Everybody seems to be going 100% after summer holidays.
Yeah,
Back to
yeah,
school. There's because I kind of follow LinkedIn a lot. There's lots of awards, there's lots of talk about the new quarters and I was feeling really overwhelmed.
yeah.
So, and this is like an example of it. I just stopped, put my laptop away, put my phone away, put on some music, and got some paper out and just wrapped empty boxes as I do, and just wrapped things. And I started making toppers for gifts and all these things, and new ideas came. And I just think it's such a mindful thing to do. It
Hmm.
doesn't really matter. Like I say, for me, the end result is almost doesn't really matter that much.
Mm.
It's just spending time, like a jigsaw, spending time just with your hands, doing something really mindful.
Yeah.
Um, and that again, from um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? From a kind of a corporate point of view, or selling my workshops has been a really good hook as well, because you can work in an office, spend all your day looking at a screen, but
Yeah.
how often do you actually step away from that and connect with your colleagues and really take some time? And I've learned that through process as well of doing the workshops. I realized at the beginning, everyone's chatting and it's, oh, yeah, la, 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 me chatting a lot, obviously. And then go through and everyone starts rapping, be it with Luro paper or whatever random things I've brought, or gorgeous paper as well. It's not all recycled stuff.
Yeah.
The conversation stops and shoulders drop and people are so engrossed in what they're doing. And
Hmm.
they're looking and go, wow, I made that. I've learned a new skill. I did that. Something that they never thought they'd do,
Yeah.
especially men who mightn't map presents as often as women do. And then that's how I really learned, God, this is such a experience as well.
Mm.
And that's why now I'm marketing it and selling it as that, it's like a conduit to mindfulness and doing something really lovely for yourself. And I think with friends, with mothers and daughters, teenagers, teenage girls love taking photos on Instagram. Everything has to be gorgeous, but it's very hard to spend time with your. It can be very hard to spend
Yeah.
time with your teenage daughter, and
Yeah.
how often do we actually do something together? Um, it's really hard to actually, I think. So doing, and that this is one of the things I'm going to be, doing over the next few months is mother-daughter time.
Hmm.
that, okay, we're going to have an hour where we do something together, we make something gorgeous, we really relax and chat about things that we don't normally talk about
Yeah.
because we won't have a phone, we won't have the doorbell going, we won't have a brother or sister running around.
Yeah.
We're going to spend time just the two of us. And it's very hard to do that with a teenage girl. Either
Hmm.
you go shopping or you go for a drink, a bubble
Hmm.
tea or something, and you spent £75 on a bubble tea. So it's that time and that experience together, and you've made something beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's the half of what I want to do is the workshops.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the wrapping. It's, for other people or retail. The more you think about it, the more avenues there
Yeah.
are and the more things you can do. So
Yeah.
that's another side of what I want to do is the workshops and then private wrapping for, clients or retail, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much scope, isn't there?
Yeah.
And so something that you think people might perceive as quite niche and is actually just really wide ranging. And in fact, the things that I do, that although there's some crossover, actually there's a lot of different things that we're both doing. And I think that's really I think hopefully this is interesting for people listening to realize that actually there are so many different ways that you could go with this if it's something that you were
Yeah,
interested in doing
exactly.
yourself.
And that's like a year
Yeah.
ago, I was like, well, I love gift wrapping. But then I started when you start actually listing all the services you could have for your website or listing all the things you could do. And when I started talking about workshops, I was kind of thinking, but there's this type of workshop and that type of work, and it actually
Yeah.
the more and more, and I think my PR and marketing skills probably helped me a little bit in
Yeah.
the selling it and the product and what are people going to get, the
Yeah.
Q&As kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
so that's definitely helped, yeah. But yeah, the more you think about it, the more scope there is. Anything you can put a bow on, pretty much. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's so how do you in terms obviously you love wrapping, but do you how do you go about your own wrapping? When you want to wrap something, do you have any rituals about how you do it? Um
Not really. I try, and this is where the has really influenced my workshops again, but I really try and think about the person I'm giving it to.
Mhm.
So, um, and this is something I've always done. So if it's my
Yeah,
brother, he used to love the Beano, so I'd use, Banana Man pages to wrap something because I know he loves that.
yeah,
Or we went on holidays a while ago and there was a peacock in the hotel we were staying. So I found a peacock on wrapping paper to give my friend who we went on the holiday with. And
yeah.
I'll just enjoy that really.
Hmm.
Um, uh, so try and clear a bit of space, a bit of even just 10 minutes of
Yeah,
just doing something. That's all it takes, really. And I think that's another reason I like it because it's a quick hit.
yeah.
Um, I think with other crafty things like embroidery or lino cut or something, it takes a longer time.
Hmm.
And I'm not that patient. I like a quick,
Yeah.
So I like
Definitely
the idea
resonate with that. Yeah. This,
yeah, boom, 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 done. And it could just be 10 minutes. But it's still, for me, that's just lowered my heart. It's just calmed me down, lowered my heart rate kind of thing.
hmm.
And I think that's another reason I love it, because and you put a bow on, like, ta-da, that's done. Okay,
Yeah.
next thing.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I definitely resonate with that kind of this is the kind of craft that I like for
yeah.
those reasons. You can make something look good quite quickly.
Yeah. And you
You
can
can
still be
try things
creative.
out and
Yeah.
it can go wrong, but there's almost unlimited resources. There are
Yeah.
unlimited resources
Well,
to have
definitely
another go.
yeah. And it's not expensive.
No.
I've used newspaper, especially the Financial Times, is pink. That's,
Yeah,
so somebody who works in that kind of sector, or, somebody who works in an accountant, for example, you can be so creative and so really use your imagination
yeah,
without having to buy stuff to do it, without having to go to Hobbycraft or Crafter's Companion and buy the whole kit and
yeah.
you can just do it. And
Hmm.
that's one of the many reasons I love it. Um, and and yeah, using anything like coloring in paper or a word search, or you can make it so personal. My mother-in-law loves crosswords, so use phosphorus for her. You know, it's um
Don't know about you, but I actually really it's really great when there are family birthday occasions that come up because I'm like, brilliant, I'm going to try this out, I'm going to try this
yeah.
out.
Mhm.
It's like always get all sorts of random things that I'm experimenting with sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, brilliant. Okay, I need to work out how to do this now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. It's like a puzzle, I suppose. I love
Yeah.
puzzles.
Yeah, it is. It's a puzzle in a different way, isn't it, actually? Yeah, that's it kind of scratches the itch of the puzzles. That's like the left brain as well as the right brain,
Yeah,
actually.
and it's quick. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Gosh, it's so interesting to talk to somebody else who's doing something similar. Um, and what about the inside of all these gifts? When it comes to like choosing gifts, how do you feel about doing the shopping for gifts and choosing where you actually buy the actual gifts from?
Well, I love buying gifts. Absolutely love it. I always have. And my friends kind of get annoyed because I'm lucky. I do nail it quite a lot. But I buy things when I see it for the person.
Okay.
So if I see a card that I think that is so whoever, I'll buy it and then keep it for their birthday. I'm
Yeah.
that kind of person. I like buying locally though, so I'm quite into I live in a town, and there's lots of lovely independent shops, and
Yeah.
I do my best to support them. So I'm that kind of support small kind of person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I try and buy either Irish or Northeast local stuff for people, unless
Yeah.
they're seven and they want Lego, which is
Yeah.
there's a lot of Lego in our house. But yeah, so I try and do that by I really enjoy taking the time to think about it and plan it and work it out.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely sounds like. I'm not surprised to hear that from your sort of the wrapping is just a sort of icing on the cake, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. It's so interesting to hear. And when you're receiving gifts, have you got any particular memories that stand out of gifts that you've received over the years that you've um
Oh yeah,
really enjoyed
definitely.
receiving?
Well, my husband's very, very thoughtful and he's brilliant at gifts as well. And he's very creative. And he gave me, for example, train tickets to Edinburgh, but he'd made a big kind of map of the route where we were going to go in Edinburgh and all the shops he'd found that he thought I'd like, and he'd written them all out in different colors, like antique shops and junk shops and art galleries, that kind of thing,
Yeah,
and bars. Um, so I really loved that because it was so thoughtful. Definitely that's a highlight.
that sounds
Um,
amazing.
yeah, quite a few stand out. I remember when I was really little, I had chicken pox, and our neighbor gave me a little watering can full of sweets, and that was anything small.
Yeah,
And I just thought that is so. I just loved it so much, and it was just perfect. Uh,
yeah,
so just little small, thoughtful things to me are more. I prefer that than a bottle of expensive perfume or.
yeah,
uh, yeah, I'm not really into designer handbags, that kind of stuff. To me, it's the
yeah.
yeah, a handwritten note is much more important to me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it's the kind of thing that pops up a lot when I'm talking to people about you think that the grand gestures are what people want, but actually it isn't really
Mm,
underneath it all. It's when those things that stand out are not the big blowouts that you might expect them to be. So I think thank you so much for sharing those. That it's
welcome.
yeah, it's lovely. Um, well, I've just so enjoyed hearing about what you do and hearing your passion for what you do and what you're bringing to other people. I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
And I was, as I said, I was so excited to kind of come across your Instagram account and thought, okay, I'm not going completely mad because
Likewise.
there's somebody else out there wanting to do something similar to me. It's so good. Um, where can people find you if they want to follow what you're up to, Aoife?
Well, probably the best start, I suppose, would be in my Instagram, which is at Forbes Finishings. And my website is forbesfinishings.com. Probably the best two starters. I do most of my stuff on Instagram or LinkedIn, but LinkedIn, I suppose, is more of the thinking behind it all rather than the results.
Yeah, which I'm sure will be of interest to people listening as well, because
Yeah.
a lot of people listening to the podcast have got businesses of their own, and I'm sure they'll be really interested to hear how you're sort of going about doing what you're doing and how you've made this sort of change as well. So brilliant. We'll put all of those links in the show notes so that people can easily come and find you. And well, I've absolutely loved chatting to you, and I'm sure at some point it'd be lovely for us to have a follow-up so that we can find out more about what you're doing and whether you get the ice cream van.
Yeah, definitely. We can do the podcast in the ice cream van.
Okay, we've definitely got to do that. That is definitely a date. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Aoife. Thank you for listening to the Greener Gifting Gown podcast. For free resources, head to giftwrappedbyeve.com/freebies and follow Eve on socials at giftwrappedbyeve on Instagram and Facebook.